and it let out this blood-curdling, guttural scream.
On the side of the road, he sees a deer carcass and something eating on it, which he thought was a bear. And as the lights hit it, it stood up. And, like, this gives me chills talking about it. He said it stood up and it had the face of a man.
Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Bigfoots of America. This is actually episode 10, but it's only our first or second in the new studio. So thanks for being here. I'm your host, Bryan Sawyer, coming at you. And today's episode has to do with Bigfoot eyewitness Scott Brusch from Urban Bigfoot. Scott was the star of our TV pilot series, Bigfoot of Michigan. He was the season 2, episode number 7. Scott's a great guy, man. So much knowledge on Bigfoot. You know, he's the one who kind of brought in the idea to me that, hey, are these things the curse of Cain? Could they be Cain or the lineage of Cain? And so, yeah, Scott's got a whole ton of knowledge. Happy to have him here today. Thanks that you're here today. And let's go ahead and bring Scott Brusch from Urban Bigfoots in to the program. Hey, Scott, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, good, man. How are you? It's been too long.
Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely. I haven't seen you since, the town hall meeting, right?
Yeah, that would be the last time. But we've talked since then, but the last, physical appearance, yeah, that would have been the town hall.
Cool. Yeah, actually, I just decided today we're going to do the town hall meeting again, and then we weren't. And then today, I think it's an all go. So just
Okay.
looking to settle on a date. So, it'll probably be October 18th, 2025, up in Houghton Lake. Okay, got the Lakeshore. I think it's Lakeshore Conference Center, Hotel and
Okay.
Conference Center. But yeah, we'll announce all of that a little bit more. But yeah, man, good to see you. So first of all, let's get to you. How'd you get started with this whole crazy Bigfoot thing?
Man, my story starts a little bit different than most people's. It's 1992, 93. I'm 6 years old, and I know a lot of people are probably like, oh, he's just a youngster at that statement by itself. But I'm in the library, Calvin and Hobbes, Garfield, all that stuff was really big at the elementary library at that time. And I'm like, no, man, this stuff's boring. I'm over here looking at demonology, Sasquatch, Loch Ness Monster, all that stuff. And it wasn't just like a passing interest for me. It was like, this is calling to me, man. And then when I got to the first Bigfoot book, which I currently have sitting over on my shelf right now, I found a copy of the very first Bigfoot book I ever read sitting over on my shelf. And I'm going through it, man. And I'm like, I got to find this thing. Whatever it may be, I got to find it. And up until 2023, it was all just kind of like research, with the books, the documentaries. And then I really got into the field about 2-3 years ago. And
very cool. Is that the whole
Patterson?
Was that the whole Patterson Gimlin, thing?
Patterson Gimlin was, Patterson Gimlin probably wasn't the first I saw, actually. The first I saw was probably something from John Green, would probably be some of the first Bigfoot stuff that I saw. Set 1978-ish, great book. That's probably one of the first ones that I saw. And then I kind of came onto the Patty film later on.
Okay, gotcha. Very cool. I got to look up John Green. I don't know if we've talked about that before, so I got to get educated. Because
These are old school, man. They're old school. These are your kind of pioneers back in the day, like your 70s guys that really said, all right, let's start writing these books. And some of them are kind of up there because they're collectible. So if you can find the vintage Sasquatch books, eBay has them.
Fantastic, because I think I went from the Patterson Gimlin film to the Paul Freeman footage. and then that kind of got me back into it. So there was a little bit of a hiatus between those two episodes.
Oh, for sure.
So there are those two encounters. All right, so you have started Urban Bigfoot. Now, I came out and we filmed episode 7, season 2 on our YouTube channel. And yeah, oh man, you have the picture of the Bigfoot coming out of the portal, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, just tell us what happened in that episode, kind of recap all that for us.
Oh man, well you had came out there and I'm like, it was a beautiful day. Remember how nice it was that day? It was like 72 degrees. It was perfect out there. I can remember you and me going in the woods and I'm just kind of going over a few of the things that I had noticed in my times out there. And all of a sudden, that's when we started hearing stuff that we really couldn't explain. Remember that? We didn't get maybe, a quarter mile in before grunting, knocking, all sorts of unexplainable phenomenon really started to happen. Your backpack was coming unzipped somehow. Crap was falling out of it. Like it was adventurous.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm walking along, and all of a sudden, I'm like, "What the hell? All my crap's falling out of my backpack." I'm like, "How'd that happen?"
That was eerie because I mean I was in front of you, so it's like who's doing this? That was eerie, but we definitely had an active day out there, I would say. And
we heard. Man. I think if you check out that episode, there's that moment where I think we hear tree knocks or we hear vocals or whatever, and then we cruise just a little bit to our left and we find that big footprint. But yeah, and then you just have so many footprints from that area.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah,
I have not had a hotbed for a while out there. I have not had tracks like that probably since then. It's like, no, it's a once in a lifetime thing, man.
Do you remember what time of year? Because you might be hitting on something. It seems that here in Michigan, that July, August, and September, maybe October, are like when you have the most activity. I'll have them all the way up to December, and then hunting season comes in around me, and so then it'll kind of chill out for a while. But did you get those in the hot months? A lot of those footprints?
Actually, that was right around now we found those. That was between, I would say, like February 26th and like March 7th. So this is like right around the thaw.
Oh my!
So yeah, this is right around now.
Dude, that's fantastic.
Yep.
Because I love it. You always have the people that spout out and they're like, oh, it's somebody walking around barefoot. And it's like, well, first of all, it's not the same kind of footprint. Second of all, if it's happening in February and March, give me a break.
Power to you. And I mean, you could see some of the tracks, man. The arch was absent. That was just a straight, flat, no mid-tarsal break. You know what I mean? Just a straight one flat foot. There was dermal ridges in a lot of those. My only regret is I didn't have the plaster in Paris on me at the time. That's it.
Yeah, for sure. And then, then you had plenty of tree breaks and twists and everything. And what's interesting, what's the common denominator? Because I always look for that common denominator, and that is water. And what is that river? Oh, it's it's rather than Raisin River, it's called the River Raisin, right?
Yep, that's right. And it's about, I'd say, half a mile to the west of my research site. So it's literally just right there. And you and I know these things move like that. So that's nothing to cover, 800 meters.
Oh, yeah. And then to me, to me, it's like they don't go far. They don't move far away from water. So there is a definite need for water and food. And so they got plentiful supply of deer. And then when the summer comes back, you got clams, you got fish. I mean, I think they love fish. I got a couple other eyewitnesses who have had the fish stolen off their lines. They'll have a stringer up hanging in a tree, and those will disappear. I mean, the one guy, Aaron Spencer, he actually got scared away. He turned around, the Bigfoot standing there, and scares him away and just takes, doesn't hurt him, just takes his fish. So yeah, that River Raisin, how far does that River Raisin go?
I don't know exactly, but I know that it extends like well into Dundee. It goes really far. It's a good sized river. So there's a lot of adjacent towns and a lot of different like relatively rural wooded areas out that way too. It would be pretty easy to stay out of sight, out of mind if you were traveling by night or whatever. That would be perfect.
Wow. So we're gonna have to get on a map, because if that goes all the way up to near Chelsea, Ann Arbor. So you pass Ann Arbor, I think you go to Chelsea, the Waterloo state game area, because there's been hefty sightings there. Got some other people. I think Val Savala has got a picture out there. So I'm
Yep.
wondering if that river connects all the way there, and then you and I could get back there. Yeah, we said we're gonna go to Dundee, right?
Yep.
So
Let's do it up. Like I said, man, I
we'll
got
get
a
out
lot of
there.
prospective places for you too. Like if you're looking to line up for the next season, like I said, I got stuff coming at me left and right. As far as like sightings and strange accounts and
Very
stuff
cool.
taking place, and I'm like, all right, I know the guy to bring this to, so for sure.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. So we got one more year. Our connections have informed us that they're going to keep shopping the TV pilot series all the way through 2025. So we're going to
Nice.
do a season 3 of the TV pilot series, and I'll probably keep doing it. I think I'm going to do 5 years at least and see how it goes. If it keeps building and heading in the direction I want it to go, then we'll keep doing it. But yeah, so we'll definitely get out. Hopefully, yeah, we can get out this year too. I'm about 3/4 of the way booked for season 3, so I don't want to jam pack it, because I want a couple of months to kind of prepare for the town hall meeting.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can definitely get together. Now, let's jump back. Um, some I guess you'd call documentation goes back to the War of 1812. Now, if I'm correct, it was what was it the Americans and the French and the Indians against the English? I'm trying to remember exactly what that war was, I think. But what happened at Fort Monroe? I mean, give us a lowdown of the Bigfoot sightings there while the War of 1812 is going on.
Well, the documentation, and Val Zavala actually is the one that shared this with me. I don't want to be on here talking about stuff that and claiming it's mine. You know what I mean? Too much of that nonsense taking place. But they were keeping in their war journals at the time and their letters home and all that stuff. During that time, while they were actively engaging in combat with the enemy, they had said what appeared to be these ape-like furry creatures climbing the walls, taking the rations. So now you're dealing with what sounds a lot like Sasquatch, but also enemy forces. And this is in, 1812 is what, 238 years ago, something like that. So we're going way back, and we still got a lot of those trails out here that you can still hike. Those were all connections from the soldiers that travel from one area to another. I believe the Sasquatch are using them to traverse as well, to get place to place.
Fantastic. Well, so we've got some land down in Adrian, got a big pole barn up there. That might become possibly the new headquarters of BOM. We're not sure yet. So that's something that could come up. Probably we might start getting ready in 2025, but it probably wouldn't be finished till 2026. If everything goes in the right direction, and the TV series turns into the full-fledged network TV series, then I think we'll be based out of there. We'll have a couple of trucks, and we'll have a crew 1, crew 2, and I'll be like, hey, Scott, where are you guys going today? And exactly. Yeah, because so I had a recent sighting by me over in Ruby. Somebody saw Sasquatch dragging a deer across the road. That connects with the Black River Bigfoots. I've done a couple of episodes with that. So that could have been the same Sasquatch clan as that. And then I just got a report from somebody in Ruby.
Yep. When I was a little kid. Yep. Because I lived
just north of.
Yeah, I lived on Griswold Road. In Kimball.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Because yeah, that's right. See, that's what's crazy about us is I lived in Kimball. There's some sightings there too. And I
There
got to
is.
dig into that. Somebody just contacted, and it might go back some years, but yeah, there's some sightings there. And that all connects to that Black River. Um, and there is an old railroad track there that's been torn up and it's called the Avoca Trail. So that is one of the things on my list too. Check this out, Scott. So, over the season 1, season 2, season 1 had 10 episodes, season 2 had 11 episodes, and this is a folder full of people I didn't get to in those first 2 seasons. So yeah, so we're pretty much booked and then some for season
Nice.
3. But I want to do the eyewitnesses. I also want to do the overnight investigations and then go to the new locations. So you and I, we need to go to New Haven. For some reason, I keep thinking about that.
Okay, I'm in.
The New Haven area. I've heard of a sighting over there, and I know where it's at. So that's where if you come up this way, I want to bring you there, and then we'll also go to the Dundee area.
You got it, man.
So that'll be very cool. All right, so let's
sounds
talk about
perfect.
now. We'll kind of jump to. Oh, great. Let's talk about the curse of Cain. Give me a little bit of history. I know we talked about this in your episode in your TV pilot series, but this is the podcast show. So let's
Yeah.
kind of go over some of that again.
Well, just to kind of loosely touch base with, I know most people know the story, but when Cain killed Abel in the Bible, God said, what have you done? You've killed one of my creations. You've killed your brother. And then he cursed him for what he did. Nobody knows what the curse was, but based off some of the things that God had said in the scripture, it says that, he's never going to have a home. He's going to wander for eternity. The earth will not open to accept him when he dies. In other words, God cursed him to be immortal. And he also cursed him in such a way that we would contrast him from fellow man. So we know it's something terrible. You know what I mean? It's something that's frightening, or in our case, if it's a Sasquatch, in our case, it's awe-inspiring. That's kind of just that's right up our alley. But for most people, the concept of that curse is insane, especially if it is the Bigfoot. They can't really. Yeah, I mean, he gave him a mark. We don't know what the mark is.
Right. Well, then think about if he had a wife or had wives, plural. They lived, so much longer back then, before the flood. So, too, if he had multiple wives and started spreading that seed around, so to speak, that could have been a whole new race.
Well, check it out. It says after God cursed Cain, because Cain had lived in Nod. Nod was located east of the Garden of Eden. It said after he was cursed, he made love to his wife, and they had a child. That was Enoch. Enoch was their baby. What about Enoch?
Wow.
What about Enoch? Enoch is super gifted. Has his own book that was never included in the Bible, covers all the same kind of stuff that we are. So, and Enoch happened to be very gifted as well. So spreading the seed in a physical sense appears to pass on the power and the gift as well.
Fantastic.
And I'm like, man, this stuff just got me. You know what I mean? I'm going over that book again, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
And I need to hear it because I don't have all the time in the day, to hit every little thing, because since I've talked to you, I've gone back and forth since I've talked to you last. At one time I thought, well, maybe they are just Gigantopithecus. And then I went all the way over here that no, they're the offspring of the Nephilim. And then I've got this book. I read this book. Well, first of all, you gave me that book, right?
Yes, sir. At the town hall meeting, I was like, you're going to love this, man. I got this for you. That's the one.
I read this book in like 2-3 days. The whole thing. I couldn't put it down.
And it's phenomenal.
Oh my gosh, that was a big eye opener. So I read this, and then that brought me back to thinking, well, maybe it is just kind of an animal, And then, because of that led me, who I hope to get author Mike Wolf on the show here soon. But this is author Mike Wolf, and it's called A Christian Man's Search for Bigfoot. Now, you would think that he would be talking about the Nephilim in this. us Christians, we gravitate towards the Nephilim narrative. And I'm not discrediting that. I still believe that's a possibility. But he thinks it is
Goliath.
just, he thinks it's just its own species.
Oh,
I told you that one time I felt God had spoke to me and said, "Hey, check out how many," I was thinking about Bigfoot and all the different. I had that encounter with the fairy, which blew my mind, and so suddenly all this paranormal stuff is pouring into my life, and then now in the news, UFOs and aliens and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, "Hey, God, what's going on?" With the Nephilim offspring and all that. And I felt he had spoke to me, hey, just look up how many different types of insects there are. And I looked up two different sources, and one said 900,000, and another said close to 1 million different types of insects. So then,
wow.
after reading this book, where this Christian man didn't necessarily gravitate towards the Nephilim, he believes it's just another species. It's a species in between man and animal. So I can't discredit that either. So now
We can't
I
discredit any of it because we ain't got any idea.
bingo. Nobody knows for sure. Nobody's an expert. I don't ever want to be called an expert. I don't want to ever call anybody else an expert because we're always finding out something new. And I tend to think that there is almost like every kind of level in between from Gigantopithecus all the way to Nephilim because I just posted on the group sites on Facebook, which are Bigfoots of Michigan, Bigfoots of America podcast, and then also the public page, which is Bigfoots of America. I posted on there from, I think it's Faces of Beauty, where they have the one cloaking, and it's such a predator cloak, like the Predator movie.
Hmm.
I know people say, well, they can make their hair sheen and it looks like a predator cloak. So to me, it's like they can do something that's interdimensional. There's something strange. They can leave footprints or they can not leave footprints. They can leave one footprint or none at all, or a whole single trail of footprints. So I'm like, man, and so per what I felt God had said to me, 900 to 1 million different types of insects, there must be so many different types of paranormal beings. So this is a species we may call Bigfoot or Sasquatch, but like a breed of dog, there's so many different kinds in that classification, in that species. So
Maybe some of them have the interdimensional power. I'm starting to wonder if maybe there's kind of like a hierarchy of sorts. I mean, you have your day watchers and stuff, but maybe like the elders have the abilities, and maybe the rest are just like in training, or maybe they're just foot soldiers. Maybe not every Sasquatch has the ability. That's something else to buy into as well, possibly.
and that would make sense. And so you got that angle, or then you could go the route, well, if these things are from the sources I'm hearing, they might be able to live anywhere between 50 to 300 to 500 years of age, and they're having a ton of offspring. Well, maybe like as a kid Bigfoot or an adolescent Bigfoot, you don't have those powers yet. You don't get them until later. Maybe that's something that manifests later as they get older. I don't know.
That's true. But I mean, if you think about it, you have the post-flood and you have the pre-flood, okay? So pre-flood, we got the giants. And then God realizes we have all these abominations and the world's nothing but sin. And he's like, all right, I'm done. And that's when Noah comes into play. So now, after the flood, after Noah, we're pretty much starting over with everything. So just don't, I'm starting to I wonder if maybe the giants and the Nephilim are maybe two separate things. Maybe they're not like the offspring of another. Because when you know what I mean? Like when you dissect it a little bit, when you really overanalyze it, it gives you a lot to think about, and you know what I mean, a lot to swallow.
Yeah, I think there is that verse, and I gotta look that up. But it says, that there were giants in those days, talking about before the flood, and then afterward. So it's like, okay, if the flood wiped out all these giants, there's almost a second incursion, or so to speak, that they made a comeback. Did the daughters or the wives of Noah's son have the giant DNA in them, which caused
It's
more spawning
insane.
of giants to happen?
Because here's the thing. So we have the rebellion in heaven. Then we have the angels that were kicked out. Okay. And then we have the forbidden offspring, the Nephilim. So the Nephilim had the giants with the human wives. How big were the angels if the giants were 50, 60 feet tall?
Oh my goodness.
Now, and here's the thing. How could a 60-foot tall being, let's say, breed with a standard human woman? We're talking DNA manipulation here.
Oh, exactly.
Not actual sexual activity, but a literal, like, ancient form of DNA manipulation. All the stuff that the government's trying to do now, all that stuff's already happened thousands of years ago. If you think about it, it's just a different way to read it. But there's no way that they would have been able to, do the act with the sheer size difference. There's no way.
Oh, right. So there had to be both male and female. And then you bringing up that aspect made me think of how they talked about in Enoch, the book of Enoch, they talked about how the giants, the humans were feeding the giants, and soon it got to a point where some of them got so big that the humans couldn't feed the giants, and so the giants started eating the people, and that type of so-called cannibalism going on. And then about a month ago, I read a story, a Bigfoot story, where so you've got a clan of Sasquatch, and they've got their alpha male. Well, another alpha male, a solo Sasquatch, kind of came in and tried to take over, kill the alpha male of the clan and take, like lions do, lion pride. And well, he was defeated by the alpha male of the clan. And the alpha male pretty much brought him to the brink of death. And then the whole clan tore the intruder Bigfoot apart and ate him. So it was almost like, yeah, so the winner, the head of the clan, was getting groomed by like two females, and kind of stroking them to make him feel better because he was all revved up, and then the rest of the clan tore this loser apart and ate him. That's scary. So that was a reminder to me when I go out in the woods. Hey, honey, I'm going out in the woods. Dopey-do. I'll see you, in a few hours. It's like, dude, be careful. Fortunately, around here, we've got nice clans. The Black River Bigfoots over the Cass River. There hasn't been too much, not that I know of, any Bigfoot killing any human. So, but yeah, isn't that story crazy?
There's not a lot of like really violent documented stories anyway that result in like this extreme violence you hear about. Those are few and far between. Usually it's a bluff charge. Usually it's throwing something to scare them off, or just that growl alone is enough to make most people turn the other way. You know what I mean? I get that. But
for sure, if you shoot at them, though, there's that story in the UP. And then a lady contacted me, someone I work with, because she's got a friend who is a hunter. This happened in the UP this last fall. He went to a hunting location. He was just getting out of his truck, getting his rifle and all that kind of stuff out, and he hears a noise, and he looks at the tree line, and there's a Sasquatch. And as soon as he sees it, it starts screaming at him, kind of like the Aaron Young episode. I think that's what's Aaron Young is like episode 3, I think, of season 1, where the Sasquatch didn't come at him, didn't try to kill him, but stood there and screamed. Like you're saying, a lot of times they just don't want you in their area, or they want to chase you off.
And that's the number one thing being a researcher, especially when you're doing the nighttime hunts, because the woods, man. And you and I, we wear glasses. We're already blind. We already got that working against us. So if your depth perception's not there. The woods you hike during the day are not the same woods that you're hiking at night. I don't care if it's the same location or the same trail. Your depth perception's gone. You don't quite have that ability to see ahead. It's a different beast going at night, and you got to listen to your gut. If your gut says, don't come in here tonight, you better turn around and get back in the car. I mean, there's been countless times, like Jake and I have gotten like halfway through the trail. Then we got that feeling. Then we would have like a ton of wood knocks and loud grunts and rustling sounds like warnings to get out. And he and I hightailed it right out of there. So one time we never even finished the trail. We cut through the field next to it.
Wow.
Because we were terrified, man. I don't think we were being chased, but that was like, all right, I gave you guys 3 chances. That's it. and we're not, all right, we're out. We never even bothered finishing the hike. And if you look at Jake's footage, did you catch what he caught of the one running in that
No,
little?
I haven't.
Dude,
You're gonna send that to me.
yup, it's on Urban Bigfoot. It's on my page too.
Okay, I'll take a
Jake
look.
slows it down, and he's got a big white circle around it, and there's a bipedal creature just zipping through that frame. And that's what we heard. That's what made us leave that night. I'm almost certain. So I'm filming. I caught the juvenile because it was still a little brighter outside when I caught the juvenile. Jake's filming, and then he catches this one just running by at a blistering, mind-blowing speed, and you can see it. It's only about 3 seconds, but it's no doubt, man, it's a track star. Just watch it on loop. It's mind-blowing. It's like, I'm like, dude, that's your first big find. Like, that's awesome.
I gotta see it, man.
Yep,
I'm excited.
It's awesome. Yep, it's
and
fantastic.
that's at the location. That's at the location where I was at.
Yes, indeed.
My goodness. See, what was that location before? That's why you're doing Urban Bigfoot, because I think your location is the closest to like a full-blown city that a Sasquatch I know of is they're residing at. A whole plan of them.
Some of the massive ones, like you hear of like the bigger cities where there's Sasquatch, it would be like Grosse Ile. There's been a couple sightings in Belle Isle. There's even been some in parts of Detroit.
Wow.
But that's where it comes into play, where if you look at it like they're just coming to survive and they just kind of adapted around us, they were always here, and we forget that.
Yeah, they were before us.
Yeah, and they've been staring at us before we even knew they were there. So, in some ways, they know more about us than we do. So I'm thinking that's why they're in every major city, and you can hear about it just by looking up certain searches. I mean, they're everywhere.
I think a guy I'm going to have on the show later on from Alabama, he said in 2024 a Bigfoot walked right through downtown Huntsville, Alabama. So a handful of people saw it just right down the street. So I'm going to find out more about that. But so it's like they were here before us. And two, I hear they do a ton of dumpster diving. That's surprising. So you figure.
And let's be honest, though, he's in Alabama. If it's a good rib shack or something, man, you can't blame. I'm not going to blame the Bigfoot. I'm going to fist bump Bigfoot if he's getting some ribs in Alabama.
He got that sauce going on.
Exactly.
Got that barbecue.
I can't
light
blame
that
him.
up. Mm-hmm.
He's going to the back of the rib shack after close and getting everything they're throwing out.
Yep. Well, we're pretty sure we've had him here 2 to 3 times. Coming up to the window, the growling, the scratching, all that. So, and then my sister-in-law, or my girlfriend's sister, was up from Florida. I don't know if I told you this. She said
I don't think so.
She went to the bathroom about 3 a.m. She looks out my back window, and she sees what she thought was my 8-foot cutout that my son had given me. And she's like,
man.
She said, "Oh, I didn't see Brian move that today." And she looks to the left, and there's the cutout still. And she looks back, and there it is standing there. She said, black, you can just see the outline of it. And my contestation is, I just released a video, is ever since I was at this one location, I believe this one I call Scout. I believe I got mine spoke to, and then every so often he'll show up here and he'll follow me around a little bit. And I don't know what I don't know. I know he's from one of 2 locations that I've filmed at. And it could be this latest location that I'm not allowed to talk about. I promised the landowners. It is season 2, episode 11 that I released a couple of weeks ago. Because when we were there and we're walking, and it was the first time we were there and we're walking through, and Laura heard it. Laura and the landowner heard the grunt, and it was just on the other side of the shrub where it goes down into the swamp, is what I'm allowed to say. And they freaked. They're like, "Did you hear that?" And I'm up, I'm thinking, okay, I need to film here. I need to do this shot. All right, we'll do this sighting. I'm thinking about my shooting schedule and, or my shot list. And they're like, "Hey, no, there's one right here." So, we're going back this year, and she says if that happens again, she said I'm gonna be like, show yourself. And these, like in the video, as you see, they have shown themselves twice now after um the landowner. How it all started was the landowner was raising meat rabbits and was throwing the pelts out and some of the innards out into a pile, and all of a sudden Bigfoot started showing up, or they started seeing the Bigfoot. So then when I went there, in that where the a pile of rabbit pelts were in the innards, I left a big pile of carrots and then gifted in a few different locations. Right after that, we got that quick little video of the wood knock where you see the Sasquatch banging down, and then got the picture. The landowner got the picture of the Sasquatch watching from the trees. So it's like they get food, they'll show themselves. And like we were talking before, these things are always hungry and always thirsty. So, but yeah, so anyways, yeah, so got them showing up here, Sandusky, Michigan, smack dab in what I call the Bigfoot triangle of the thumb.
And Croswell is a decent hot spot for Sasquatch as well.
Well, that's in the triangle.
Yep.
That is part of it. Yeah, that's Cheyenne Sweet there's been a couple of sites, Cheyenne Sweet, and then Jerry Lentz doesn't live too far from there. And yeah, my theory is, my dad lived here, 25, 30 years ago, and I lived with him a little while back then. And back then, it just seemed like there was more people.
Yeah.
And COVID hit, and it seems like there's less people out here, and I'll drive 10, 15 minutes and not see another car. And so then if the Bigfoot population in Michigan is growing and it's bleeding out of the Upper Peninsula into the Lower Peninsula, and now we know the upper portion of the Lower Peninsula is just filled with Sasquatch. So I think their clans, their families are growing, and now they're starting to bleed into the thumb a little bit. That is basically mostly farmland. I think they always been down by you, though. I think, that's evident. You've got the story of the 1812 war.
Yeah.
You've got that river raisin there. So I think they've always been down there. Oh, and two, I'm going down to, hold on a second, as I look this up, I'm going down to Ohio. And so I'm wondering, Donna Copus, I think it is.
Okay.
Going down, she's a Bigfoot eyewitness multiple times, but she lives in Ohio. Blue Creek, Ohio. I was looking for the town, Blue Creek, Ohio. And so that was always, I think, part of our theory was, okay, are they migrating? Are they migrating back and forth? And to me, your area is such a hot spot that those clans could move back and forth between here and Ohio, no problem.
And I mean, that's another location that I research from time to time. It's still a little cold because it's right by the water, but it's that beach I was telling you about that has there was the old orphanage that had burned down in the 1920s. There's a skinwalker activity out there. There's said to be curses on the land. I've hiked it many times. It's actually beautiful. A lot of driftwood washes up on the beach, but a lot of people have died out there. A lot of horrible things have happened. But the tracks I found, the tree breaks I have found out there, and there always seems to be a Sasquatch in the same area where there's been death or other sorts of supernatural, the other side type activity. Bigfoot just seems to he's always got his foot in the shadow of another type of phenomena. If there's a ghost, there's a Bigfoot. You know what I mean? They just always seem to be kind of walking that veil, so to speak, which if they are interdimensional, that makes perfect sense.
Without a doubt. So then, with you saying that reminds me, we've talked about this before, and going to the location as well, which is up by Clarkston, I think it is, northwest of Clarkston, that praying mantis man sighting.
Davisburg?
Just off of I-75. So if you hop on I-75 and shoot up too, that's another location we can check out as well.
For sure.
Not just Sasquatch, but then you've got these other living beings. And it's like, man, how many different types of creature there are there? And there's a water source out there as well. The guy saw it. The guy who took the picture, saw this thing in the swamp. And actually, two of the eyewitnesses. So I went to that location and I saw where the guy, so two different eyewitnesses at two different times. The one got the picture, and then the other guy was coming over the hill in his truck and almost hit it. And this praying mantis man jumped, 30 feet in the air. And he said this guy who's, 6 foot, ex special forces, he said every step this thing took, it broke through the ice. So that's a location we want to get to. Where
For
do
sure.
are they, do they have caves? Have they burrowed in? Are they just showing up to get food? These are the details I want to find out a little bit more about. So that's another location we can go to, and then just try to expand. I want to expand. I never want to leave Bigfoot, but I want to see, I guess, what other types of creatures there are out there.
Like I said, if you want to dabble with Dogman, I got some Dogman locations too.
Oh man, let's do that. I'm meeting up with Susan Moore, and that's like where most people see Bigfoot. All she really sees are Dogman, and she has had good relationships with them. Where are you talking about? You have a general area you can talk about?
Honestly, around here is one of them, and the other one is a little further south of here. But Dogmen
Oh,
have been sighted in this area for years. For whatever reason,
okay.
and the last gentleman on the last podcast I was on had spoken of how Monroe in this area is just weird in general. We do
Okay.
have so much unexplained stuff here that even my never stopping thinking about this sort of thing, mind can't even process. So it makes sense. This stuff was always here, but I mean, look at it biblically, the veil's thinning. This stuff's
Yeah.
becoming as popular as walking outside anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The wraps are coming off, man. And I think that we're lucky to be part of history when cryptids are kind of really starting to take their place as reality for people who can't accept that.
Exactly. And why is that? Are we, we as Christians, are we in the end times? And in Luke, it talks about in the last days, I guess the Greek interpretation um, is monsters. So it basically says in the last days, you will see monsters and things coming down from the sky. In other words, what? UFOs? So,
Look what do we got coming down? The UAP activity is absolutely insane right now.
oh, so that's all breaking loose. Hey, I forgot to tell you, I'm going to be in Monroe tomorrow. You know where we ate
Sweet.
in your episode, we ate at the Mexican restaurant?
Yeah.
Well, across the street, there's a performing arts center, it looks like a big old theater. I've been there once before,
The
but
River
yeah,
Raisin Theater of the Arts.
yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, we're
Dude,
going to be there
I
to
live
see.
right across the street from that theater. I could literally look out the window right now and see the front of that theater.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, we're there tomorrow to see The Wizard of Oz. My girlfriend's granddaughter.
Nice.
Yeah, is performing in that. So we'll be there, and we might take a look around. I'll shoot you a text
Yeah,
too.
for sure, man. Because then you could meet my girlfriend and stuff too.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be
Yep.
great.
And it's Saturday. None of us got anything going on, so just let me know whenever, and we can meet up even just to grab a bite to eat or something.
That'd be fantastic.
Yep.
And then, yeah, maybe map out. Let's plan Dundee.
Yep.
So that would be great. All right, Scott. Well, thank you so much for being a part of episode 10 of the Bigfoots of America podcast show. And we're definitely going to have you on again as we get out there and we have more to talk about as the season goes on. I've decided I want to keep all my podcast episodes to like an hour or less. I think the attention span of people, they want to get to the meat and bones of everything.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do here. But anything else you want to talk about before I say goodbye to you?
Oh, no, that's it, man. I appreciate it, and I look forward to the next time.
Awesome, man. All right, I'm going to put you in the green room, but so stay there, and then we'll talk afterwards. All right, my friend?
You got it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to have episodes now every Friday of the Bigfoots of America podcast show. If you're interested in being a guest, you can go to Bigfoots with an S, so Bigfoots of America bigfootsofamericapod@gmail.com. Send us an email, and then you'll get a phone call, an interview over the phone with me, and we'll decide what we want to talk about your experiences, and then we'll get a date lined up. Okay, so that'll be awesome. Right now we're booked for the next month or two, but yeah, so get in as soon as you can. And as always, stay tuned for more of the Bigfoots of America podcast show. Thanks. We'll see you next time.